Okay, so let's start. I see from the comments na ang dami-dami ng tao here. Okay, so it's now 10:03. So, hello everyone and welcome and thank you for joining us today in our live webinar. I am Vanessa, or my nickname is actually Baban. I'm Baban Villaluz. I am the Managing Director of Ateneo Cord. So for the past 45 years, Ateneo Cord has been doing trainings, research, and consultation services to different kinds of organizations. Today, we are so happy to have you tuned in our webinar. Actually, this is our first FB Live. As Cord is committed to helping people and organizations, we hope our efforts to share evidence-based knowledge and practices online will be helpful and useful to everyone. As we are facing a global crisis, we believe that most organizations will still be experiencing challenges even after the quarantine is lifted. So given that organizations and employees are still very much affected, Cord gathered data to identify helpful strategies that organizations can readily adapt and use for post-quarantine. We have also invited an HR practitioner who will share with us practical tips and the efforts that they have been doing to address the challenges of this pandemic. So in this session, our topic is really about how organizations can adapt and rebuild to the new normal. Before we go to our main discussion, let us first put ourselves in the presence of the Lord. So kindly join me in this prayer. In everything we do, O Lord, give us a desire to seek out the truth. Give us a willingness to heed the advice of others. Give us wisdom in reaching decisions. Give us faith to believe in our conclusions. Give us courage to put our ideas to the test. And if we prove ourselves wrong, give us the grace to admit it. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Okay? All right, so before we start, we just like to check in on you. Actually, I was about to ask you where you're at right now and how you're feeling, but bibo kayo. Nag-start pa lang, sinabi niya na. So, good morning to Jenny, who is from the DILG Central Office. Okay, one person, si Tabugo, did I pronounce your name correctly, is from Sultan Kudarat. Hello! Yan. Tapos, meron from Save the Children. Okay? So, it's an organization. She's from Save the Children. From Sikihor, si Alan. Yon. All right. So, if you have, if you want to let us know where you're from, please join the comments below. Okay. Actually, all right. So wala na. Okay. So I think we can start. So some norms lang. We are actually recording this webinar so that we can post it at a later date, so that other people can watch and learn from the experiences of our speakers. Please submit your questions in the comments below, but after the presentations. So we will collate some of the comments and we will ask that of the speakers. Okay? Now we can begin. Hope you are already looking forward to our speakers today. Originally, we had 3 speakers, but Dr. Errol Ilak could not make it because I think electricity tripped in their area. It's in Marikina, so he can't go online. Who's from Marikina? Are you experiencing the same thing? Okay, nagtitrip yung kuryente tapos mainit pa. So, there. So, tiis-tiis lang. Okay. So, we only have 2 speakers for this morning. Dr. Joy Calleja will take over the presentation of Dr. Ilak. To introduce our first speaker, Dr. Joy Calleja, has over 15 years of practice in different areas of human resource management. She has a doctorate degree in social organizational psychology. She has also published international and local journal articles about topics on HR and org development. She was previously the director of the consulting unit of Ateneo Cord, and she was heavily involved in doing organization-wide diagnosis and interventions to help organizations improve their performance and and employees. All right, so I turn you over to the presentation of Dr. Joy Calleja.
Okay, so thank you, Baban, and good morning, everyone. I'm glad that most of you are feeling good based on the emoticons, no, on your comments. And I'm happy to see some familiar people, okay, that's joining us this morning. And I hope that our conversation will help maintain those happy emotions or help us feel better as we talk about how we can work more effectively given the new normal. So basically, I will be sharing with you a research done by Ateneo Cord, particularly RM Zantua, Queenie Isidro, and myself, with the help of our Director for Research, Dr. Feliz Go. Let me begin by providing some context on why we conducted the study. So there are things that we now know about COVID-19, but there are also things that remain uncertain or ambiguous. No? So for example, we know that the virus is highly contagious and that it can easily be transmitted and fatal, no, to a lot of people. We also know that there's no available vaccine, not yet. No, we don't have that yet, and therefore, because of the danger posed by the disease, we need to do physical distancing, and we need to be quarantined. No, and that required a pause in business operations, and of course, stopping business will mean economic challenges to workers and their families. So a lot of people are having a hard time at the moment. Okay, so there are also things that we don't know. We don't know when a vaccine will be developed and when that can even reach us here in the Philippines. We also don't know if we can really achieve herd immunity. And in some countries where they lifted the quarantine, they've experienced second wave, no, of infection. So we don't know if a second or third wave will also happen in the Philippines once we lift the quarantine. So we are unsure of how safe we will be when we go out to work post-quarantine. So given this context, what we did is to conduct a survey. So we asked workers, we asked employees on how can organizations ensure the safety, their safety, no, and well-being as workers after the government lifts the quarantine. So we conducted an online qualitative survey and we were able to gather data from 160 participants from different industries. In looking at the data, we tried to locate patterns or themes from these responses, no, our qualitative responses from our participants. So our findings show us that from the perspective of the workers and the employees, the way by which organizations can help ensure their safety and well-being can be summarized through the acronym ADAPT. So ADAPT means A, adjusting work arrangements to ensure physical distancing. D, developing and communicating sustainability strategies. A, activating safety protocols based on new work norms. P, protecting the well-being of employees. And T, training and supporting employees as they adapt to change. So we will go through each of these one by one in the succeeding slides. So when we talk about adjusting work arrangements, a lot said that those who are in work from home arrangements at the moment, okay, may continue to do so, especially if we observe that they're effective, no, in working from home and coordinating with their teams. Okay, organizations may also consider, no, partial reporting or maintaining a skeletal workforce. So we minimize people at the office and we can really implement, no, physical distancing. Together with this, we can have flexible work hours. So physical distancing can be implemented, and being together, close to each other can be minimized, not just in the workplace itself, but in the commute going to and from the office. So aside from this, we can also consider restructuring the workplace. No, we need to redesign floor plans and rearrange office setup. Now, if before your cubicles are close together or your tables are close together, so we need to allow some distance, between work areas. Okay, so that if someone gets infected, then we can prevent infection of others. We also need to place protective barriers, for example, in manufacturing setup or in assembly lines. So between work areas, we can put barriers that will prevent workers, from being in very close contact to each other. Those who are facing consumers or customers, those in the front line. Okay, as we now see in drugstores, or in different work areas, okay, they would place barriers, between employees and the customers. Now, with regards to developing and communicating sustainability strategies, if your organization already has this, then there needs to be, or we need to review or revisit the business continuity plans and risk mitigation plans based on the lessons and insights from the COVID-19 experience. And if we don't have this yet, I think this situation that we have at the moment really pushes us or made us realize that these things need to be in place. So we have to consider whether, for example, we have resources, we have savings that will keep the business afloat, or that will allow us to provide employment protection to our people. Okay, this is also a new opportunity to find strategies to generate income. A lot of organizations who uses digital platforms as secondary now realizes that this has to become a primary way of engaging customers, clients, and other stakeholders. Now, if we will have new work arrangements, like work from home, amongst other things, then we may need a smaller office space. And given that, sorry, please go back to the previous slide. Given that, if we need a smaller office space, then we can also minimize cost. In planning for or coming up with our sustainability strategies, we need to give considerable attention to the human side of organizational life. In our organizations, we have groups that are vulnerable, those who have mental health challenge, physical challenges. So we need to make sure that sustainability plans, business continuity plans also take into consideration the needs of this group of workers, aside from the needs of everyone. Okay, so in terms of activating safety protocols, so our safety protocols need to be adapted to the new work norms. For example, entry, exit, and being at work. So some of us, even before lockdown, have equipped ourselves, for example, with ways of checking temperature of people going into the workplace. So maybe, the respondents actually said that all entry points in workplaces need to have this. Also, periodic sanitation of the workplace. So we have to put in place ways, but by which we can make sure that we disinfect the workplace, especially if employees need to be there and need to work in shifts, okay, or if you have shared seating arrangements or shared work areas. So what do we do to disinfect these work areas before the new shift of employees would come in? Policies on face-to-face meetings, not just amongst employees internally, but with our clients. So exploring digital ways of doing this until we know that employees are safe to go out, needs to be in place. So just like in disaster situations, when we experience natural calamities, we get guidelines from the national government and the local government. Diba? Pag signal number 3, we already know what to do. So these things also have to be communicated internally so people know how to react to specific situations. And this will entail organizations having close coordinations with the local government unit. Now, with regards to protecting the well-being of employees, we've already talked about ensuring the safety of people within the organization, but a lot of suggestions of the workers also covered helping protect employees during commute. Suggestions include providing transportation for employees from certain areas, nor specific areas, in going into the office. Also, the organization facilitating carpooling arrangements no, amongst employees. Definitely providing financial support is very important as much as we can. No, if we can continue providing salaries, benefits, and even expanding benefits like health insurance to cover COVID-19 no, would really be helpful to the worker herself and her family. Also giving psychological first aid. Um, so for example, right now we can have conversations amongst employees on how they are feeling and what are their thoughts, okay, what are their concerns, no? So these are like sort of debriefing sessions or kumustahan sessions. And mental health support also needs to be provided for those who will need expert help. So if people are experiencing intense anxiety or depression, we can facilitate their connection or connecting them no, to experts that can provide assistance. And of course, the help of the organization in their access no, to this professional help is very, very important. So we can continue with conducting mental health checks or kumustahan. Some HR um, units have already set up mechanisms, no, grouped employees in teams and hold non-work related conversations, no, so kwentuhan sessions with them. So just to know how they are feeling at the moment and how they are adjusting to new ways of working. Organizing activities to bring back solidarity and lifting the spirits of people now and right after quarantine. For example, I don't know what will work for your organization needs to be considered given your demographics. So first, you can maybe consider quiz nights or videoke nights or even virtual town hall meetings. Okay? And finally, with regards to training and supporting employees as they adapt to change, definitely we need to um, capacitate employees, give them orientation on these new work norms, and also provide visual reminders either online, virtually, or even at the office. So we can reinforce knowledge and also shape new behaviors. Uh, According to our respondents, L&D units or learning and development units of their organizations have already started sessions on COVID-19 awareness, giving reminders of communicating health guidelines, as well as ways of protecting workers and their families. Since we are looking at really adjusting to new work arrangements, we need to support the development of competencies needed, no? For example, for digital work, as well as provide tools for them no? To be able to do this effectively. Some companies have already provided, for example, pocket Wi-Fi's no? So to their employees or equipments to make them or allow them continue working at home. We also need to clarify no, new work processes and expectations. So what are deliverables given this new normal, but uh, doing that in a way that also considers the context of each individual employees. Okay. So finally, um, next slide, please. The findings of the study, okay, that we conducted emphasize the importance of giving consideration to the individual journey of employees. So even if we are all experiencing the pandemic, how we react and respond to it depends on our individual disposition and life contexts. So it is very important that we set employees up for success by providing the needed support to them as persons and as workers. So finally, as the organization navigates through this new normal, it will be good to ask for ideas, suggestions of employees. So bringing employees on board will help ensure our organizational interventions are relevant to employees and to them, and will enhance commitment as well to the new work norms, which will be helpful as the entire organization adjusts to the new normal. So that ends the first presentation. So Baban, do I continue with the rebuild?
Okay. So
Okay.
before Joy continues with the rebuild presentation, let's give her short time to pause. But I would just like to again give a shout out to the other viewers of this webinar. So there are people from LGUs, Tabalanga, and then DILG. There are viewers from Zamboanga,
Oh,
okay?
hello.
Bacolod, di ba? Ang dami.
Oo
And then
nga.
in terms of organization, BAP, Victoria Milling Corporation. And then we have frontliners from the DOH and the Rizal Medical Center. If I failed to mention you, sorry na lang po. Um, I can't scroll through all the comments, but rest assured that we are very, very much thankful for you joining this webinar. So, Dr. Joy, are you okay now with Rebuild?
Yes, so we can continue to further expound on the elements of the new normal that we have to consider as workers and organizations. I will now present the findings of a desktop research conducted by my colleague in Port, Dr. Errol Dilak. As Baban mentioned, a while ago, he was supposed to present this to us, but there is a power outage in their village in Marikina. So it's just good that nothing else happened, no, and they're all safe. I guess similar situations are things that we have to prepare for and adjust to as we transition to more digital ways of working. Anyway, all these changes that we experience due to the pandemic will no doubt alter the way organizations operate, not just after lockdowns are lifted. So there seems to be no going back to old paradigms of normality, and a longer period of social distancing and ensuring protection, such as through wearing masks, is really necessary. So we need to shift, no, and adapt our mindset to the new normal. And in doing so, our HR units will have to be ready and prepared in making sure, no, that workers remain mentally healthy. So what are these long-term changes and how do we respond to it? Okay. First, seems like working remotely for a number of employees will not just be done after the government lifts the quarantine, but for a longer period of time. Adjustments done at the level of individuals and organizations must prepare for this reality. Companies may even have guidelines or strategies on setting up work areas at home, no? So that we make sure that it remains conducive to working, even if we are staying at our houses or in our homes. Um, Having more flexible arrangements will allow us to save on costs, and working from home may be preferred by some, no? Especially given our very bad traffic situation pre-COVID-19. Next slide, please. However, we are a highly collectivist culture, no? So that's how we describe, or that's how we are based on research. And one of the things that keep us in our organization is a relationship with the people that we work with. So we really have to find ways, no, to address this given the new normal. So for continued employee support, organizations need to think of strategies and come up with programs to ensure culture building and maintaining the feeling of being part of our organization. So that sense of togetherness, no, despite being physically distant, and protecting mental health and well-being. So after a while, the things that we will do to keep the team spirit that will implement post-quarantine, no, as shared in the previous presentation, I think will eventually have to be refined and made more relevant and custom fitted to your employee demographic. So I think same goes with business contingency plans. This has to be reviewed periodically, okay? And having crisis management teams would really help in monitoring how our plans for business and our people are working out. So the team also needs to stay alert in case a second or third wave will happen. So we can immediately adapt to government guidelines, no? So as shared a while ago, and prevent the spread of infection. So we have to be very vigilant. No? When it comes to continuous upskilling of people, okay, so next slide, please. So this will be very necessary, the upskilling of our people. And we can engage organization members. Okay. Sorry, can we shift to the next slide? There. So we can engage organization members, especially those who are tech savvy, as we do so. No? So we have digital natives in the office, usually the young ones. No? Pero meron din namang those who are more seasoned that are tech savvy. So the digital natives who are comfortable with technology can help the digital immigrants, like me, who may have a hard time shifting to virtual ways of working, or will have hard time in doing so. So this can be, new ways of building connections among organization members, and a digital form of also expressing malasakit, okay, amongst or to each other. Okay. Needless to say that the government and internet providers need to help this shift to digital platforms. No? So next slide, please. Previous slide. Okay, yeah. So as I was saying, government and internet providers need to support this shift that's happening in organizations. We need to bump up facilities to support employees working from home. So digitizing and automating work will be the new normal. So it's like, rapidly embracing the fourth industrial revolution that people have been talking about now before the pandemic happened. Okay. So with this comes the need also to have strong internal IT support. Leaders in HR need to strengthen both the structure and also the people skills to effectively transition to a virtual workplace. So leadership adaptiveness, so this means a really big paradigm, in the this is a big paradigm shift, for our leaders on how we view and monitor performance. So productivity, okay, there are some articles that say that productivity will not be based on quantity anymore. Moving forward and given employee autonomy, and because of remote working, quality will now matter more. So we will not be together in the office. So micromanaging actually won't work, but we have to be very clear about our deliverables or the work outcomes that we expect from our employees. Okay? So employees will actually have more power and independence on how they will plan their day. They will have more autonomy, which a lot of workers actually prefer, based on research. But parameters and norms will have to be set. And a more collaborative and trusting culture, okay, will have to be nurtured. Touch-based sessions are important in connecting with employees and encouraging them to continue being important contributors to organization objectives, despite limited physical presence in the office. Okay. Finally, design thinking for the future means having constant communication between employees and leaders on capacity to deliver output given work from home arrangement. So we really need to give consideration to individual contexts. So we can continuously utilize technology such as video conferencing, okay, to connect with each other. Next slide, please. Okay, so support can immediately be provided, or more efficient work arrangements can be collaboratively figured out. So in case there are difficulties, glitches, so it will be good to engage employees in scenario building and in thinking of future possibilities. So next slide, please. The new normal requires a change in mindset and behaviors for everyone. So well, as we can see, the government or organization leaders, HR practitioners, OD practitioners, individual workers, all of us actually have no choice but to adapt. Okay, we have gone through a lot of difficult situations as people, as a nation, and although this pandemic is really unprecedented, I'm sure we will find ways to adapt, okay, and rise up to the challenge. Okay? So thank you, and hope that you find this sharing helpful.
Okay. So thank you, Dr. Joy. So I hope you learn from the best practices that organizations can readily use and can think about for the long term, as summarized in the Adapt and Rebuild framework. So now we are open for the Q&A session. At this time, we only have three um, questions, but if we can accommodate more, we'll queue you. But before the Q&A, you can start writing down your questions in the comment section. Before the Q&A, some comments lang that we've been receiving. One is that from Mr. Roderick Salazar, parang it's too early to say, to use the term daw na new normal because we don't know what that is. Parang it is more appropriate to say old normal.
Old
Just a comment,
normal.
just a comment and just something to think about. There are also comments that they are having a hard time viewing the webinar session because of internet connection, unstable
Mm-mm.
internet connection. So,
Yes.
oo.
Yeah, so yan na nga yung one of the challenges, no, that we will face as we transition to digital ways of doing things. So talagang concerted effort, no? So government, organizations, internet providers, etc., on how to make this work, no? Given these work arrangements that we will have to adapt to. Oo nga.
All right. And then, but again, if you're having difficulty in viewing this live session, we are recording this and we'll be posting it on our Facebook page so you can rewatch this again. And if your friends or coworkers failed to join us today, then you can just show them the recording. Okay? Right. So some of the questions from Metro Pacific, Ruby of Metro Pacific Tollways. In terms of kamustahan sessions, what do we mean daw? Is it virtual or in person?
Okay. So as of the moment, and I think no, even during quarantine or beyond that. No? So currently, what we need nga no to have these kumustahan sessions as part of our mental health check and connecting with the employees. So what some organizations are doing is that they have organized employees into teams. No? So not necessarily their work teams. Yung iba, those belonging to the same age group. So small groups of five to seven employees, and then an HR practitioner or someone from HR, no, that can facilitate the conversation and just asking people, how are you? What are your thoughts with regards to the pandemic, to what's happening right now? What are your concerns? How do you adjust to work from home arrangement? Or even do you have tips, no, that you can share to make this effective for everyone, so to make this work arrangement effective for everyone. So it will really be good, no, if not just HR but the heads of teams can also do this within their work teams, no. So kahit na ang dami nating ginagawa, actually doing a lot of work as we transition nga, no, to these new work arrangements, it's also very important that we take care of the wellness, the well-being of our people. I hope you were able to read the Protect article and also watch the Protect webinar of Ford. So you can find that in our website, and you can actually find a lot of ways of connecting to employees. Pero yun, for HR and for supervisors, no, so you can try doing that. Kumbaga, having non-work related conversations with groups of employees.
Okay. All right. So another question is debriefing? Question from Oliver Portos, is debriefing a part of readying the helping employees adjust to what we call the new normal?
Yes, definitely, no. So we cannot just pretend, no, that everything's the same. So just like uh, I suppose most of us have experienced natural calamities before, and we always say that psychologically preparing people as we go back to work, is very important. So just like the mental health checks, we can have those conversations that will enable people to express how they feel at the moment, and to also reassure them na kasi this is the situation is not normal, no, it's new. So it's okay to feel different sorts of emotions, no, it's okay to feel worried about certain things, it's okay not to be okay actually. So just giving that reassurance to our employees, is part of making sure that we protect and we help them maintain their mental health. No? So I'm glad that these first two questions, no, from Ruby, and the second one, is it Dennis? Ban, was it Dennis who asked the second question?
Dennis,
Yeah,
on
so from
reverb, yung debriefing.
yeah, so those two questions really show how much we think about, no, of the health and well-being of our workers, and for me that's a very good indication that we give considerable attention to people, to the people side of the business or of organization. So thank you for that.
So another concern is about mental issues.
Mm-hmm.
Ano daw ang gagawin for those who cannot adapt?
Yeah. So yun na nga, no? I mentioned a while ago that part of protecting the overall well-being of employees is providing support to those who may need help, no, from experts. And what is good is that at the moment, no, a lot of professionals in the clinical psychology field have actually set up or provided assistance, no, to people needing help. The Psychological Association of the Philippines, for example, has an online or virtual katatagan program. The Ateneo Bulatao Center also has this program, no, for people who may be needing more assistance. But within your organization, no, if you already sense, or if people already have communicated to you that they need greater assistance, um, hopefully, no, you will be able to facilitate connecting them to these experts, or not just connecting them to these experts, but also giving them, uh, if needed, no, financial assistance. And please, a lot of consideration in terms of how their deliverables are expected, the work that they can deliver, that they can produce, no, at the moment. As mentioned, lahat tayo we're experiencing the pandemic, but how we experience it and how we respond to it, no, depends a lot on our disposition, no, as individuals, our family relationships, the resources that we have, no. So i-consider natin to lahat, and let's find ways, no, to connect people to people, to experts that can further help them if they feel greater anxiety, or they feel depressed, no, and cannot continue functioning the way that they want to be on a day-to-day basis, or that they need to be on a day-to-day basis.
So actually, there are many comments and questions coming in, but we can continue the Q&A after the presentation of our next speaker. Now we go to our next session. Ms. Cecet Lopez is the HR Operations Director and Manila Site Lead in Reed Elsevier. Okay, so she will gladly share with us how her organization has been responding to the challenges during this pandemic. Ms. Cecet?
Okay, thanks, Baban. Um, Again, good morning, everyone. And I'd like to make special mention, of course, to Doc Joy, Doc Gerald, Ma'am Baban, RM, and Queenie, who are all part of the group behind today's session, for allowing me this opportunity, to talk about and share some of the strategies and I would say, best practices, coming from my organization. And I'm pretty sure some of you out there perhaps have also heard of or have experienced on their own a lot of these practices that has been rolled out or implemented just over the past couple of weeks. So for the next few minutes, and as I talk about, some of these practices from my organization, allow me to echo and in a way remind everyone of Ateneo Cord's very own PROTECT acronym, which was highlighted earlier by Doc Joy. It's actually this one. And if some of us do recall, this was actually released sometime April 6th during the first few weeks of our enhanced community quarantine or ECQ. Again, I'm highlighting this because a lot of the things that I will talk about today are actually aligned or very much in support of the PROTECT acronym. P, again, for a quick reminder, P stands for provide financial assistance, R for review plans and adjust accordingly, O is for offer relevant assistance, T for train using alternative platforms, E, engage employees, C, communicate, and T, finally, for think beyond your organization. So again, zeroing in on these ways, means, practices coming from my organization, what I did for today, and just to make everything flawless, seamless, and very coherent as we talk about this particular topic here, I've highlighted 3 or 4, I would say, main points coming from these strategies. The first of which is to set the tone from the top. As members of the leadership team, and although there are various and different sources of information available out there, this is really the time when everyone, all our employees, will look to their own leaders for clear-cut directions that all circle back to home, which in this particular case is our own workplace. Part also of setting the tone is the need to perhaps consolidate all information to have these make more sense and get converted to something that is easily relatable to our employees. For instance, and like I said, some of you may be very familiar with all of these. There have been numerous updates from PhilHealth, SSS, Pag-ibig, our health providers, and even DOLE. Having a consolidated or a one-stop shop for all of these updates is actually very helpful for the employees. And as they go through this new normal or new experiences as part of the workforce. And so once this is done, another thing that we have realized as an organization is for the HR team and also the senior leadership team to come up with our frequently asked questions or FAQs, instances or specific situations that will allow them to connect or relate, these updates to their very own situation or even the demands of their very own workplace. Second item under communicate is, again, how have we maintained these regular and continuous exchange with our employees? Some of us may be familiar with, HR Connect sessions. These are virtual Connect sessions via Zoom, or in our case, Google Hangouts or even MS Teams. HR Connect sessions where not only HR will be present, but also there is participation coming from the senior leadership team members who are out there and very much willing and ready to answer the questions coming from the employees and resulting from a recent update. Some of the channels that we have also institutionalized or we have heavily used would be our HR helpline. Again, this is something that we just started coming from our ECQ experience. 3 sessions, we provided 3 sessions to the employees. Our HR partners are well within their reach via Viber. It can also be through MS Teams, through SMS if they have any questions. And because it is live, it is the HR helpline, they are able to get real-time answers to their questions. Another one is, again, the strong use and the strong and active use of Viber for real-time updates also relating to work from home arrangements, perhaps the delivery of the IT and also the Wi-Fi devices or equipment. There was also Twitter, FB page, and last but definitely not the least, perhaps the most important of all is the use also of surveys as a way to do temp check with the employees. I know Doc Joy sort of touched on this earlier, the importance of checking back with the employees, how they think, how they are able to process everything that is happening around them. So from a financial and even emotional standpoint, more of an holistic standpoint, what have we done for our employees as an organization? Top of list would be the advanced crediting and the use of paid time offs. All the PTOs for the year had been credited and therefore are available for the employees' use. There's also the early release of prorated 13th month. I said this earlier, IT and Wi-Fi devices issued and sent to employees' place of residence. Outside of the NCR even, yes, there is also internet reimbursement that we have extended to our employees to fully enable them to work from home. And also as the employer, we did our part and we assisted some employees in filing for the DOLE camp or the COVID allowance amounting to 5,000. Third item that I have here is the importance, again, of keeping everyone connected and still engaged. From communication, again, how do we draw it closer to home? Well, we started reinforcing the use of online learning by releasing learning curricula that is featured via our own LMS or learning management system. If previously we had quarterly releases of our learning, talent, and development newsletter, we had to do it more often this time because we realize our employees do have a lot of free time. They do have internet access and unlimited internet access. So yes, we might as well direct this extra or unused energy to something that is more worthwhile and something that could definitely benefit them from work perspective. And on the aspect of, still giving back to the community, Read Elsevier has maintained this partnership with KKMK or Kapatid Kita Mahal Kita Foundation. We started with 23 scholars. We started supporting 23 scholars 6 years ago. It has now grown to more than 200. So again, how do we stay in touch with our supported organizations, particularly KKMK? The organization has distributed grocery items to the families of our very own KKMK scholars. Also, falling under this would be the release of a relaxed RE Cares or our CSR program guidelines as a way of earning and also utilizing their earned paid time off. Just to give everyone an idea, for the organization, if they are able to give back to the community by spending a couple of hours, there is really a total of 2 PTOs or 2 days every year that they are allowed to earn and utilize, just like any paid time off. And then they can use this anytime within that particular year. Next item that I have here is, come up with ways to make them still connected to their safe place or their core group, core team. We launched a photo contest depending on certain themes that we have come up for certain days. Examples of these theme days would be Dress Up Monday, What's for Lunch Wednesday, and everything else really that would make everyone excited, very much engaged to their team members, whether in a virtual setup. And next is, we will be starting our virtual benefit concert slated for all Fridays of the month of May, and this is in fact kicking off this coming Friday, which is May 8th. And the objective or the aim of this virtual concert is to be able to amass donations, donations made via salary deduction, and then the total amount of donation will then be extended to the chosen beneficiaries by our employees themselves. Last on the list is the need to organize and start a return to work or transition back to the office team. And then this particular return to work team or transition back to office team will or has been tasked to come up with enhanced guidelines around sanitation. How do we ensure that there is social distancing, uh, return to work program or the return to work plan is in fact something that is going to be implemented through a phased approach. So there's phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, but really it all boils down to having more flexible working arrangements. If we have employees who would need to commute or would need to travel long and far, in considering the traffic situation, there is going to be team A and team B. So we in a way get to control the number of employees who will be on site for a particular period. So yes, that pretty much sums up what the organization has been doing and what we are still very open to implementing. Also excited to hear how your organizations have adopted to this new virtual arrangement, the new work from home thing. And yeah, that's all I have for today.
All right, Ms. Cesar, thank you very much. I would just like to summarize some of the comments that we've been receiving. Again, there are a lot of comments on how do we ensure that people remain to be, or questions, how do we ensure that people remain to be productive at home? Yun. Joy or Cecet, do you have experience or can you cite an intervention to address that?
Yeah, I can take that
Okay, go
on.
ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the organization, what we have done is to still monitor productivity. It's all part of monitoring, tracking how productive the employees are given this work from home arrangement. And these productivity reports are shared with the senior leadership team. But then, of course, the targets in a way had been relaxed, given our unique arrangement now. But still, there is that continuous tracking or monitoring of productivity.
Mhm.
Um, Ban, actually, I would like to share that next week on May 14, CORD will have a webinar on work-life balance in a work-from-home arrangement. And I think one of the things that we have to consider is that also supporting employees in making sure that they're productive at home by, for example, asking them to find a place no at home where they can focus on work and to communicate this openly to their families na okay, from this time to this time, yes, I'm at home, but unlike previous COVID-19 na pag weekends, diba, they can disturb you anytime because you're at home. Now currently, since work from home arrangements, kailangan talaga you need to be able to focus on work at certain times, and noise needs to be minimized, no? So amongst other things. So all of these adjustments, no? So kailangan pag-usapan within the family, no? And so to make sure that everyone's on board and everything's all the support are in place, no? So that we can be effective in a work from home arrangement.
All right. Okay. Another question would be very hard management. How do you ensure that the business continuity plan, or how will you develop a BCP, a business continuity plan?
Mm,
Mm-mm.
okay. Siguro just some thoughts ano.
Mm-mm.
Actually, if you take a look at resources on BCP, no, it tells us that first, of course, you have to take a look at business impact. Yung business impact analysis has to be done, and then kagaya nung sinasabi ni Cecet, no, the phased way of going back to work, parang what would be our recovery strategies, and then so after this adjustment to the workplace post quarantine, what would be the long term implications that will have to be considered, no, so that we can be sort of continuously effective as an organization, no. So parang itong and if possible, no, the post quarantine can be like a test or exercise thing, no, parang on how it will be when we go back, and to continue recalibrate these arrangements that we have, the plans that we have as we go along. So marami kasi siyang components, and really entail, no, for the management team or the crisis management team to sit down, no, and map this out. And there are a lot of available resources that can guide through that process.
All right. So there's a specific question for Cecet. Do you have contractual JO employees? And do you also provide them the same benefits as regular employees? Do you extend to them the same, I think, benefits as your regular employees at this point?
Yes, we do have contractual employees, and yes, they still need to be productive. Therefore, same benefits had been extended as it relates to issuing IT and Wi-Fi devices for their use,
Mm-hmm.
and particularly for employees who recently started with a company, even their paid time offs had been credited early, so they can already start using and utilizing all of these.
Mm-hmm. Joy, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, so I think what Cecet mentioned are things that are will be helpful for organizations. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So there are questions on what creative engagement activities can we implement. I think Cecet gave us a few examples. One, yung photo sessions and their benefit concerts, diba? Online. So you
Mhm.
can devise a number of very creative ways to engage employees, even if they're at home.
Oh,
Another concern is,
sorry, Ban.
yes.
Sorry, Ban. Siguro just to mention na yun na nga, no, parang we can engage employees in coming up with these programs, no.
Mm-mm.
Maraming creative minds in our organization, and they know each other. Most of them would know the culture that you have. So gather ideas also from the people within the organization on what engagement activities you can have. Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. So actually, one of our viewers, Lee Pascual, actually agrees with you, Joy. So develop a solidarity culture and create programs, and I think, ask employees what do they need, diba? What are the challenges coming, or what are their challenges, and build a solidarity programs in order to create initiatives to address their health and other concerns, to engage others. And I think we have, okay na for the last question. Okay. So there is a question on how do we know if our employees already have mental concerns or mental issues. Actually, Dr. Ellen Ilak chimed in via Viber. So his answer to the question is, if you notice that the stress levels of your employees, their anxiety levels, and if their productivity levels dip, then these may be considered as red flags that they may be suffering mental issues already. Joy and Cecil, do you have anything to add to that?
Um, Yun na nga, I think you can sort of sense if you have those regular kumustahan, no? So you can sort of sense employees' adjustments, no, to this situation. And although sabi ko nga kanina, it's okay not to be okay, to feel concerned, etc. However, if if the way you feel at the moment and um, the state of your mental state, no, does not allow you anymore uh, to to conduct or to engage in day-to-day functions that are necessary for you to continue living sort of effectively, then yun na parang medyo red flag na talaga. So kaya ngayon parang yung touch basing talaga with the people, especially yung mga supervisors, and having a chance to talk to them, no? So doon natin malalaman kung mas malalim na yung problema.
Yeah, if I may also add, well, thankful that the organization and some of our leaders had gone through the CARES protocol. But yes, the way the business is also set up is we have teams that are led and managed by their own supervisors. So it helps to have these regular touch base sessions, checkpoints, and that's also part of the regular questions that leaders, supervisors, or managers are expected to be asking their direct reports. So it's not all work or productivity related.
So Ban, baka we can direct also the viewers, no, in the CORD website. You can see the CARES first aid protocol for mental health, no. So if you have time, maybe you can read through the article and also watch the webinar on that. No? That might be helpful, not just for the HR practitioners but also the team leaders, no, in your organization.
Okay. So any more from Cecil and Joy? All right. So I think we're going to wrap up for today. So I think we've covered everything, or if we haven't covered everything, please continue to post your comments or your questions on our Facebook page, especially since we're going to post this recording online. So once again, thank you to our resource speakers for sharing their expertise and experiences. Thank you for attending this session. I think we've reached 300 viewers at some point. Okay, so maraming salamat. Um, we really hope that you found this session helpful. Uh, Again, as mentioned earlier by Joy, we have another webinar on May 14th. It's at 10 o'clock a.m. Again, it will be on work-life balance. So if you want to dwell more on, oh no, not 700, 300 viewers. We've reached 750 to 800 viewers.
Wow.
Salamat.
That's great.
So
That's great.
if you want more in-depth answers on how to maintain work-life balance, since people are already working at home, then that may be also a session for you. So we hope you tune in to our next webinar session. Have a great day, although it's very, the heat is
Warm, yeah.
so, it's so warm. Stay safe, and again, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.